Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. For this episode, I'm going to be talking about metal I no longer own. I recently was looking and thinking about topics for heavy metallurgy and something that we might try doing in the near future, or maybe by the time this video comes out, it will already have happened. But the topic idea that came to mind was, talking about albums that we blind bought, some of which turned out really well, we really enjoyed, but also giving examples of things that we blind bought and really didn't like, where kind of completely missed the mark. The only problem with doing this topic that I came up with was I don't tend to keep the stuff that I don't like. And if I buy records and they really just don't sit well with me and I don't enjoy them, I will trade them into one of the local stores, take them to a record show to trade or sell, give them to somebody free as a VCLT package. And so I was like, am I going to come up with enough examples of ones that I didn't like? This could be a little tricky. I'm like, well, I can show things on the phone, but again, it's going to be a little hard to remember some of them because they're long gone. They're not on my shelf anymore. But then I remembered something. I keep a collection list on a spreadsheet. Look, I've had to use spreadsheets a lot for work and school over the years, so I just got used to them. It made sense at some point to keep my collection on one too. But I not only kept a list of the records I own, I also started keeping a list of the records I was getting rid of. And there was no real reason to do this. I think it just occurred to me, it's like, well, anytime I get rid of something, I gotta delete it off the collection list. I could just copy and paste it into a different, page. And maybe that record of information will come in handy someday? Maybe? Don't know. So I've done it, but I never have really looked through that list. But it occurred to me last night while thinking about this heavy metallurgy topic. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that would be a good list to reference. Go through and kind of remember some of the things I had blind bought, didn't like, got rid of them. I can just show pictures of those on my phone, like I sometimes do on stream. So yeah, great. The list is finally going to come in handy for something. Before I go any further, I will mention that yes, I know that getting rid of records doesn't sit quite right with some people. There are some folks who keep every single record they ever buy. That's perfectly fine. No problem. When I started collecting, I figured I would do the same thing. And this is like, yeah, why would I get rid of stuff? For me personally, I came to realize early on that yes, since I blind bought stuff, and it didn't always work out. I didn't really want to keep all these records that I wasn't enjoying. They were just taking up space. And since I had to move around a lot for a long time, it didn't make sense to keep dragging them with me from place to place to place. I also realized I could take those records I didn't like and trade them to people who might like them. That would give me records I might like more. I could also take them to local stores, trade them in for credit. That way I wouldn't have to spend money out of pocket to get other releases that I did want. So, yeah, for me, it's always made sense to kind of prune the collection back from time to time when I start getting things that I'm just not into. Now, the list of stuff that I've gotten rid of is not complete. I don't know exactly when I started keeping tabs on this. I would guess it was about 20 years ago. And when you say it that way, it sounds kind of insane. But I'm thinking it's about a 20-year list. I'm sure there are things I've gotten rid of that I forgot to transfer onto this list. So I'm not claiming it's a complete list and it doesn't go back to my earliest days collecting, but it's a thing. What surprised me, and where we're getting to the topic for today, is that I started looking through this list last night, seeing if I would find good examples for my metallurgy topic idea, and I did find some. But I also started finding a lot of weird stuff that um, kind of were real head scratchers. Some of the titles I was seeing, I was just like, why did I get rid of that? That's a great album. I guess I just wasn't into it at the time or something. Others I'm looking at and thinking, I don't even know what the hell that is. I have no memory of it whatsoever. And there are other titles where I'm like, I know what that is, but did I really have a copy of that? I don't remember ever owning that. When did I own that? So yeah, I kind of started getting befuddled very quickly. And so before I went very far through the list, I'm like, you know what? It would might be fun to record myself looking through this list, and we'll put it over on Let's Talk Metal. So yeah, this is going to be a spreadsheet episode if you haven't already figured that out. And we're going to look through the list of albums I've gotten rid of. I have not looked through this list ahead of time. Like I said, I just looked through a little bit of it last night. So yeah, we'll kind of, get real-time reactions of the records I have gotten rid of. Let's bring up the spreadsheet and take a look at it. So, got to click this one over here. All right. So, pretty basic information here. We've got band name, release title. Style was just, when I was like tape trading and stuff. If people only wanted to know what black metal stuff I had, I could sort the spreadsheet and just send them my, black metal list. Format will be, yeah, whether I had cassette, CD, LP, or whatever. I do want to say right away, a lot of the cassettes are going to be things that were dubbed cassettes from tape trading. So some of these, oh, excuse me, some of these were original tapes, but a lot of it was just stuff that, was crammed onto TDKs and things like that. And then I had columns for year and country. There was other information, but I didn't keep a ton of stuff for the info, or didn't keep a ton of the info on things I was getting rid of. So yeah, the list is alphabetical by band, so let's start. And I have not looked at the A's at all. I'm not necessarily going to go through the entire list in this video. I'm kind of watching the clock. It feels like I've gone through enough for maybe a 20, 30-minute video at most. We'll stop. Maybe we'll go through more of the list in a separate video some other time. But yeah, up first, we've got a few Abigor releases. These were on cassette. And yeah, I didn't mind these. Abigor is a band I've always kind of liked. They've got a lot of good albums. But yeah, these were just dubbed on a cassette from a tape trade. Somebody sent me like a huge chunk of early Abigor. And some of these I have gotten replaced over time. I don't think I have the Apocalypse replaced on another format, but Opus 4 I've got. This particular demo, I don't know. I probably don't have that on anything else right now. Let's see, Blaze My Sorrow. Okay, I have demos by this band on CD, but I don't know if I actually have the If Emotion Still Burns album. I'd have to go back and check that out. I remember them being like melodic death metal, something I just haven't checked out in a long time. Again, another cassette trade thing for sure. Abraxas Future World, a power metal thing I had on a cassette. This is one that's like, I kind of remember that name. The thing is, there's a few different bands named Abraxas, and the ones I usually think of is an obscure band. I think they were from Ohio that did a really cool, very early 80s heavy metal single. Literally like from like 1980 when there wasn't a huge metal scene in the US. Abraxas Future World Power Metal Germany from 1993. Again, it rings a tiny bell. I guess I got it in a tape trade from someone. I don't really remember anything about it. Absu, Son of Tifereth. Yeah, this was another tape trading thing. I've just never have picked up another copy of Son of Tifereth. Don't mind the album. I remember it being okay. Haven't heard it in forever at this point. I have some of the other Absu titles. So yeah, this one I just got rid of because when I got rid of all these old dubbed cassette tapes, well, then it wasn't in the collection anymore because I didn't have it on any other format. AC/DC, for those about to rock, I have a CD copy of that now. Um, I had a copy of Fly on the Wall. Okay, see, I don't remember this at all, and I should remember that. Who the heck sent me Fly on the Wall? I don't remember ever owning Fly on the Wall. But it says, yeah, right here, I did have it on a dubbed cassette. It wasn't an original, I know that. Geez, man, this is the kind of thing that I guess this is why I kept the list. It would be a way to jog my memory later on. I really don't remember that. Um, Fly on the Wall is not a bad album. It's never been a personal favorite from AC/DC. Kind of in the mid 80s, I just kind of stopped paying attention to AC/DC a bit. Um, and it's not that the albums got really bad. I just listen to other stuff. You can't listen to every band all the time. And after Back in Black, yeah, I don't pay a ton of attention to AC/DC, but this is an okay album, but I have no memory of ever having had it on a cassette tape. Weird. If you want blood, you've got it. This I've owned a couple of times. It's good. For some reason, I've never liked it as much as most other people seem to like it. And I don't know why. The track list is fairly good. There's just something about it. I've always played it and just, it kind of goes in one ear out the other. So I've had this, gotten rid of it, had it, gotten rid of it again. On we go. Here's the first LP. I did used to have the Accept self-titled. This is the one with like the greenish cover with the big close-up of the sword hilt on it. Yeah, I had got that for like $1 at some little record fair thing. And it's not a bad album. It's got a few good songs on it, like I'm a Rebel, which is actually a cover of an AC/DC song that AC/DC may or may not have ever released. It's always been one of those weird tracks in their catalog. But yeah, this was probably a point where I just got rid of a bunch of LPs out of my collection, and this wasn't one I played very much. Again, not a bad album. It's got a few other decent tracks too, but I decided to let it go. I do have it on CD at this point, so I picked it back up at some later date. Aceldama's Blood. This, I think, was a demo or a demo level band. It's listed as Power. I thought they were more doomy. But yeah, this might have been an original demo cassette that I got. Because by 96, I was definitely getting some demos here and there. I remember them being okay. They just didn't click enough that I ever kept it. And again, when I kind of started purging the cassettes, some things I just didn't have on other formats, and I've never picked back up. Moving along here, Eternus, Ascension of Terror. This is one of their, I guess you'd call it mid-period albums where they were very much just kind of doing the more generic death metal thing. It's not the version of Eternus I like. So I picked it up, yeah, when it came out on CD around 2001, but didn't do much for me, so went ahead and got rid of it. This next one I regret. Agent Steel's Mad Locust Rising EP. Yes, I had that on vinyl. Yes, it was the blue vinyl one. Yes, I had gotten it dirt cheap for like $3 or $5 when a record store that was clearing out a lot of old stock. Why did I get rid of it? Again, there's been a couple of times when I've let go of, with chunks of vinyl. This one I probably let go because it was just like a three-track EP. And the thought process was, how often am I really going to take this out just to play these three songs? I kept both the albums on vinyl. Those I still take out and play from time to time. Probably felt like I just wasn't going to bother with the EP very much. And so I let it go. I wish I hadn't on that one. That would be cool to still have that. Ah, well, can't win them all. Agent Steel's Omega Conspiracy. This was, yeah, one of their comeback albums from '99. Wasn't a bad album. I liked it when I first got it, but it was one I just didn't ever revisit. And so at some point, ended up trading that away. Let's see, Amon Amarth, The Avenger. The Avenger. Which one's The Avenger? Not remembering that one, but I had it on CD. It came out in '99. Is that right before Twilight of the Thunder God? After Twilight of the Thunder God? I'm not sure. Amon Amarth I've always had a little trouble with. They're not bad, but the albums tend to be very samey. I only need so much melodic death metal about Vikings this and Vikings that and Vikings ho and Vikings row and blah blah blah. So I've never really, needed much Amon Amarth material. Let's see. Amorphous Corellian Isthmus. Now, I have this on CD, but apparently I had it on CD once upon a time also and traded it off or something. Huh. I knew I had it in the past. I was thinking it was on a cassette dub. But here, no, I owned a Corellian Isthmus CD and got rid of it. Well, that was a smart thing to do. But it is on the shelf now, so some wrongs can be righted, I guess. Privilege of Evil. Yeah, that I had on cassette. Kind of thought I might have had that And why do I have listed them as Doom? Probably because I think of them, as having a more Death Doom sound. So yeah, sometimes the category is weird. But Privilege of Evil, I'm pretty sure I had that on CD too, although this says cassette. Maybe I dubbed it onto a cassette and got rid of the CD even earlier than the list. Could be. That EP, of course, has a very raw sound, and it's kind of funny because it came out after Carillion Isthmus was released. So it was really weird if you heard Isthmus first and then you heard Privilege of Evil. It's just like, it sounds like this band is rapidly regressing. But it was, of course, recorded before the album. Anathema, Pentecost 3 CD. Yeah, this is one I've been meaning to pick back up. Um, Early Anathema is not my favorite stuff out of the Peaceville 3, but Pentecost 3 is a good release. So yeah, shouldn't have let that one go. That one was a kind of a blind buy at a record store, and I guess at the time it just didn't click. I do like it a lot more now. Ancient Canyon Chronicle. Hey, Metal Blade tries to get into black metal, and they hire vampires from the east coast of North America. Well, there you go. It's kind of a fun album, all joking aside. It's not the worst thing ever recorded. But yeah, what I said in terms of Metal Blade trying to find a black metal band, yeah, that's exactly what was happening. And they just chose kind of poorly. The same thing happened to them about 6 or 7 years before this when death metal was becoming a thing. Roadrunner was getting all the bands and other labels. Metal Blade's like, hey, I need a death metal band. Mm, you guys, Cannibal Corpse. That worked out really well for Metal Blade. This first foray into black metal, not so much. I don't mind the album. It wore out its welcome pretty fast, and eventually I traded it away. It was, uh, in terms of a nostalgia footnote, I believe it was one of the very last CDs I bought in the local record store where I went to college. I think I literally bought it the afternoon I graduated. That after graduation that morning, I went back by the store for like, one last visit, say goodbye to Jim, the guy that had ran the store. I think I bought that and maybe a used Slayer CD or something. That was my, yeah, last purchases. I did end up getting to go back and visit the store one more time, one or two more times, like a year or two down the road after I'd moved out of the area. But yeah, this was kind of the last call for the record store. Sad. I don't think I need to put Canyon Chronicle back in my collection anytime. Ancient Wisdom for Snow-Covered Northland. Yes, I had the original CD of this back in the day. I've got a reissue of vinyl on it now. It has a few really good songs on it that I like a lot. Like They Gathered Where Snow Falls Forever. Overall, this one hasn't held up as well, though. I liked it back in the day. Playing the reissue vinyl sometime in the past year, I was kind of like, I think I do understand why I got rid of this CD. While it's not a bad album, it has its moments. It doesn't overall have quite enough to hold my attention. So, yeah, would it be cool if I still had the old CD? Kind of. But I'm okay that it's gone. What have we got next? And also the trees. Okay, yeah, this came in a cassette trade. Some folks would send me non-metal stuff. One tape trader in particular, Natalie, helped me get into a lot of non-metal stuff. I bet this was something that she sent, and I don't remember a single thing about it. Sometimes she would send me like big boxes of cassettes. It'd be like, 12 cassettes. Some things would stick and some things would kind of fall through the cracks. And also the trees, I just don't remember. More and also the trees. So yeah, that was probably like a double-sided cassette tape with one album on each side or something. Angel Corpse, Hammer of Gods, had that from a cassette trade. I've got that on CD now. Like that album a lot. Let's see. Angel Dust, Into the Dark Past. Yeah, this was one of their older albums. So I did have the original of this, but it wasn't in very good condition. It had some condition issues, and I was never nuts about the album. It's not bad. It's, early German traditional heavy metal, kind of on the speedy side. It just, yeah, it wasn't my favorite in that genre. So when I had a chance to trade it or sell it, I don't remember what I did with it, but I'm sure I traded or sold it for something. Yeah, I went ahead and let it go and never really have felt the need to go back and give that another try. Angra Fireworks. Angra's a band I've picked up several. We may have a few Angra entries here. Let's see. Yeah, there's Holy Land. Okay, there's two. Um, I've tried a few times with Angra. They don't make bad albums, but they're another one that I get it, play it for a couple of weeks, enjoy it, and then kind of forget it even exists. I think the debut Wuthering Heights is the only, is it Wuthering Heights? No, it's called Angel's Cry. I think that's the only one I still have a hard copy of. I may have some others, like on the, MP3 collection. But yeah, Angra, I guess they were always just a little bit on the lightweight side for power metal, for me at least. Set the World on Fire by Annihilator. Yeah, that album's kind of famously bad. We actually mentioned it just a couple of nights ago on Metallurgy, talking about 90s thrash metal. And this was one of the examples of how, yeah, thrash bands were really struggling in by 93. So don't need that back. I did have it on CD back in the day. I do remember having that one. Sound of White Noise. Most of us had Sound of White Noise. And I think most of us eventually got rid of Sound of White Noise. It wasn't the most egregious thrash expedition from the, 93 period. But man, I would never go back and listen to that album if I had kept it. So no, not sorry that's gone. Spreading the Disease I had on cassette, so that just went out with the rest of the cassette purge. I have that on CD now. Yeah, Spreading the Disease is a lot of people love it. It's never been the Anthrax album for me. It's like, and this is where, I'm a few years younger than some folks, such as Marty and, such as Jeff Wagner. You know, those guys who currently are more like in their mid 50s, they were getting stuff like Spraying the Disease when it came out. So, I'm sure, it had a much bigger impact on them. I'm just young enough that that album was ancient history by the time I was paying attention to metal. Um, Folks my age, right at the 50 mark, Among the Living was the first time you kind of registered that Anthrax was a thing. I remember one of the other kids at school having a Among the Living back patch on his denim jacket. That's where we got into Anthrax. So yeah, Spreading the Disease, it's just um, not the one for me. No problem with it though. Anvil's Forged in Fire I had on LP. Which one is Forged in Fire? That's one of the, it's not one of the first two. Is that the third one? I feel like that's the third one. I remember it being okay. It just wasn't an album I played very much, so we let it go at some point. Hard and Heavy, I think I have a copy of Hard and Heavy on the vinyl shelf behind me. I could be wrong. You know what Anvil is? Anvil is, simple. It's fun. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't play it very often these days. Anvil Chorus, this was a, yeah, fairly well-known single. Somebody sent me in a cassette trade. I don't think I've ever picked up that single. Um, they've had reissues of Anvil Chorus stuff and all that. Not that hard to find. Arcturus, Aspera Hymn Symphonica used to have this on CD. I now have a reissue of it on CD. I got rid of it at some point. I really like that way that album starts off. Aspera Hymn Symphonica, the first couple of tracks on it I really, really like. But after that, it feels like that album levels off a lot. And when I bought the reissue, I kind of had the same reaction to it. I'm like, oh yeah, Wintry Gray and stuff, great tracks. But then by the middle of the album, I just feel like, okay, this is kind of just doing its thing. Never is fully connected with me. Not a bad album, but I get why I got rid of it. La Masquerade, I had on a cassette from a cassette trade. People talked about it a lot. I wanted to check it out. Wasn't bad. I mean, it's obviously a very avant-garde sounding album. I never picked up a hard copy of it. I haven't heard this thing in probably 20 years now. Armored Saint, Delirious Nomad. Okay, I don't remember having Delirious Nomad on a cassette. I guess someone sent it in a cassette trade and obviously didn't get much attention. Armored Saints, always on my list of bands to go back and check out. I never get around to. I did have that self-titled EP on Metal Blade. That one I kind of wish I had kept. just because I do like the early Metal Blade stuff. I think this was another case where just like there was a point where I didn't want EPs on vinyl as much because I never took them out. It's like, okay, take it out, play one song on one side, stop it, flip it, play two more songs. Great, now it's over. Uh, this also probably was from a period where I didn't have a great turntable, and that might have added to the issue of wanting to play vinyl. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that might have been an issue for some of these vinyl ones getting called out. Armored Saint, March of the Saints, yeah, same kind of thing. Marty and I have talked about this. This album, it's not that the songs are bad, it just has such a lightweight production from Chrysalis that we've both had trouble getting into it. Someday we'll revisit the Armored Saint catalog. Uh, Amaros, a resurrected demo, a thrash thing from '88 that I had on CD? I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. I really don't know what that is, especially being on CD. That's weird. I'll have to go back and look that up myself sometime. As Serenity Fades, yeah, okay, yep, sort of one of those, 90s, yeah, Doom, Death Doom, again, gothic-y kind of things. Had it in a cassette trade. At the Gates, Garden of Grief EP is fine. There's another one that originally had in a cassette trade. Atlane, Guardians of Eternity. Atlane's kind of a cool German early, pretty speedy traditional metal band. Wow, I can't even picture the cover of this now, so I don't know. Atreyu, somebody recorded this. I did not have the original CD. This was a CDR. Somebody recorded for me and just was like, "Hey, here's a new thing I checked out that I liked." I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting, but I maybe not quite for me." I remember, yeah, it was okay. I mean, it's catchy. It's metalcore. There was a song or two on it that weren't bad, but I never followed up. Attack, The Secret Place. Oh, I forgot I had this on cassette. I always liked this band. This is one of those German traditional bands leaning into power metal. They just never were on a big label, so they never got much of a push. Um, I remember the main guy's name is Ricky. I want to say it's something like Ricky Van Shelton, maybe slightly off. But yeah, I remember him getting interviewed by like Sentinel Steel. It was kind of his first exposure in the US. His English was, a little choppy, but really made some really good albums. I don't have The Secret Place now. Attacker, Second Coming. Attacker, a lot of folks love that one. That's cool. Never got into them as much as other folks did, so I never upgraded this. Soul Taker. Is that one of the? Oh, okay, that must be the later Attacker. I don't remember having that on CD. I bet I bought it used and got rid of it pretty fast. Battle at Helm's Deep. I did have that LP, the one with the really hilariously bad He-Man cover and the big green pterodactyl thing. Got it for just a couple of bucks in a used vinyl store back sometime in the 90s when you could get that stuff for nothing. But again, Attacker just never has completely connected with me. Oh, but saying all that did remind me of something. Second Coming, going back to that one. Okay, this was an original cassette because I got that. It's the one that has like I think it's got like a couple of AK-47s or something on the cover. I got that in a used record store in Texas for like a buck, just to give the band another chance. It obviously didn't work out that great. Maybe Attacker will click with me sometime. Just yeah, so far it hasn't. Autumn Tears, yep, was another of these kind of gothic flavored bands from the mid 90s. Got on a cassette trade. Kind of pretty, but nothing I ever followed up on. No, had another one on probably again one tape with two albums on it. Avenger from the UK, Killer Elite, yeah, and Bloodsports. I had those original albums. They're good. I just didn't play them a lot. And so again, I think those went out when the vinyl shelf was getting thinned out some. And again, I just wasn't playing much vinyl because I didn't have a very good turntable system. I have reissues of those now. All right. Almost at the end of the A's, we've got Axmaster, Axis, and I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up there because, yeah, it's been going for a while. Wow, I only got through the A's, so this maybe becomes a series or something. But now let's talk metal in the comments down below. Um, Obviously, I let go of some weird stuff. Feel free to chastise me for certain things I should have kept, or agree with me if there were certain things that I got rid of. Maybe some of them I should never have owned in the first place. This is just a fun topic, seeing what kind of things. And as you can see, yeah, it's useful at least in jogging my memory about a few things. Armoros is one I'm going to have to look up. Okay, until next time, everybody, take care and keep banging your head.